Welcome back. In this video, I'd like to share with you a new story. The story of Ellis Island. You know, Ellis Island is a small island just close to the Statue of Liberty in New York Bay. So this is the story. Ellis Island, History and Culture. Welcome to Ellis Island. From 1892 to 1894, Ellis Island was America's largest and the most active immigration station, where over 12 million immigrants were processed. On an average, the inspection process took approximately 7 hours. For the vast majority of immigrants, Ellis Island truly was an island of hope, the first stop on their way to new opportunities and experiences in America. For the rest, it became the island of tears, a place where families were separated and individuals were denied entry into the United States. Meet some of the people who helped to create the story of Ellis Island, such as the worker who kept Ellis Island running and helped immigrants make their way into America. The places in Ellis Island's timeline show us how people have utilized this speck of land in New York Harbor for hundreds of years. The stories of Ellis Island's unsung immigrants speak to all of us. The workers of Ellis Island. On a typical day at Ellis Island Immigration Station, immigrants came face to face with inspectors, interpreters, nurses, doctors, social workers, and many others. As a large federal facility employing approximately 500 employees, at the time, Ellis Island was a well-organized workforce. The complex work of processing thousands of immigrants a year required a full complement of staff. Some names are known, others remain anonymous, but all of them contributed to the primary function of the immigration station of Ellis Island, to make sure that newcomers to the United States were legally and medically fit to enter the country. Learn about the types of work performed on Ellis Island and some of the individual employees who worked in these jobs. People. Inspector. The United States immigrant inspector's job was to conduct face-to-face interviews with all immigrants in a crucial proceeding known as immigrant inspection. Every single foreigner that entered the port of New York was questioned, either on a board ship or at Ellis Island itself. Sitting at a right rostrum desk in Ellis Island's registry room, the inspector consulted the official list of a ship's passengers called a manifest of alien passengers. In questioning the newcomer, the immigrant inspector verified the immigrant's answers given by checking them against what had been originally recorded on the ship's passenger manifest at the port of departure. Since he was only allowed to admit persons who were clearly and beyond a doubt entitled to enter the United States, he had to be absolutely certain the person he was examining was not a member of one of the classes of persons barred from entering the country under, under the various United States immigration laws, such as contract laborers, polygamists, paupers, convicted criminals, anarchists, or anyone likely to become a public charge. Clerk. Given the enormous amount of paperwork that needed to be done at Ellis Island, it comes as no surprise that dozens and dozens of clerks and stenographers were employed there. The clerks, both male and female, kept a running tabulation of the numbers of immigrants flowing to the island for inspection each day, the disposal of their cases and their subsequent departure. Clerks stored away the steamship passenger manifests, completed detention and deportation cards, wrote reports and dossiers, and filed away and retrieved warrant case records. Meanwhile, the island's stenographers, each of them an expert in writing shorthand script and using the typewriter, were essential participants during immigration hearings of the various boards of special inquiry. Interpreters. Interpreters translated from immigrants who could not communicate in English. Interpreters not only needed strong linguistic skills in one of more foreign languages, but they also needed to understand the most common dialects in a given language. An interpreter needed to convey the equivalent or a close equivalent of the words and meaning expressed by an alien immigrant and a United States immigrant inspector or other Ellis Island worker. Many interpreters at Ellis Island were either immigrants themselves or the children of immigrants. To work for the Bureau of Immigration, applicants for interpreter position had to take a federal civil service examination that rated their speaking, reading, writing, and comprehension for each language. The common languages spoken at Ellis Island included Italian, Polish, Ukrainian, Slovak, German, Yiddish, French, Greek, Hungarian, Russian, Serbo-Croatian, Romanian, Swedish, Portuguese, Bulgarian, Czech, Spanish, Armenian, Arabic, Dutch, Norwegian, and Chinese. Fiorello LaGuardia. He was born in 1882 and died in 1947. Italian, German, Yiddish, and Croatian interpreter. Fiorello LaGuardia was the son of an Italian father and Jewish mother from Austria, Hungary. After working as a clerk at the American consulate in Budapest in 1903 and a consular agent for immigration at the port of Fiume, now Rijeka, Croatia, 1903-1906, he returned to New York to study law at night school. During the day, he worked as an interpreter at Ellis Island. From 1907 to 1910, he worked at Ellis Island as an interpreter certified for Italian, German, Yiddish, and Croatian. In February 1910, Ellis Island's commissioner, William Williams, wrote, Mr. LaGuardia is energetic, intelligent, and familiar with a number of foreign languages. Against him, there may be said that he is inclined to be peppery, that with the sum of the board of special inquiry members is inclined to the argumentative, but it is not a defect of the first order. I think that his ability places him in the higher grade of interpreters. I therefore suggest his regular promotion to 1,380 grade dollars. After leaving Ellis Island, LaGuardia became a lawyer and eventually entered politics as a progressive Republican. He served as United States Congressman from 1917 to 1990, and again from 1923 to 1933. He also was a popular term mayor of New York City from 1934 to 1946. He reminisced about his experiences of Ellis Island in his 1948 autobiography, The Making of an Insurgent. He died in the Bronx in 1947 at the age of 64. Aid worker. Throughout the years, numerous organizations offer aid to immigrants at Ellis Island. Many of these immigrant aid societies maintain permanent representatives of Ellis Island, known under several titles including missionary, chaplain, agent, port worker, matron, and social worker. The dedicated men and women of this organization provided many things, from counseling, guidance, information, translation, money, food, clothing, reading material, gifts, and religious instruction and services. Nurse. The nurses at Ellis Island were employed by the United States Public Health Service. Ellis Island nurses were assigned to the general hospital wards and the contagious disease wards. In 1913, there were more than 25 nurses employed in the hospital and the wards. They worked under the supervision of the doctors, as well as their own hierarchy of chief and head nurses. Both female and male nurses were required to live on the island and were assigned separate quarters. According to the United States Public Health Service regulation, all nurses visiting New York or New Jersey during their off-duty hours were required to return to Ellis Island no later than 12 a.m. Staff boat. Doctor. The doctor of Ellis Island were commissioned officer of the United States Public Health Service, officially known as surgeons. They were in charge of Ellis Island Hospital and the medical examination of immigrants in a routine procedure called the line inspection. As long line of immigrants slowly entered Ellis Island's registry room, they were examined swiftly and expertly by the doctors for any sign of disease or sign of a physical or mental weakness. Ellis Island doctors were particularly watching for signs of contagious diseases like trachoma, tuberculosis, diphtheria, and other states of health such as poor physique, pregnancies, and mental disability. An immigrant suspected of being in questionable health was chalk marked with a letter of the alphabet: B for back problem, F for face, H for heart, E for eyes and taken out of a line and moved to a physical or mental examination room. Those with definite illnesses were sent to Ellis Island Hospital. Stories. Sicurella family story. Pietro and Rosa Sicurella lived with their 9 children in Adrano, Sicily, prior to coming to the United States. Pietro and Rosa's oldest son, Giuseppe, immigrated in 1903 to study art. His brother Salvatore followed in 1908, and their sibling Antonio, Maria, Anna, and Angelina joined them in 1913. When Giuseppe died in 1916, the Sicurella siblings living in New York decided not to return to Sicily. The rest of the family joined them after World War I. Giuseppe D'Amico, Concetta Sicurella's husband, immigrated with his wife's family, leaving his own family behind in Sicily. Giuseppe D'Amico, Teresa's father, had a hard time finding a job in America. He was an electrician by trade, but he couldn't get a job in Manhattan because the electricians were already unionized. My mother's sister, Maria Anna, had a good job as a seamstress, and she took it upon herself to teach my father the trade and get him a job. He developed a real skill as dressmaker. He went from sewing dresses to managing a dress factory, to design dresses and evening gowns. He ended his professional career as a part owner at Concat Frocks, 1355 Broadway, where they manufactured gowns. He worked there until his death in 1969. Concetta Sicurella, daughter of Pietro and Rosa, with her husband Giuseppe and son Salvatore, was born shortly after the family arrival in America in 1920. Salvatore was born, Concetta was several months pregnant during the voyage to the United States and never set foot on another boat after the experience. Salvatore Giuseppe Sicurella's brother was employed as a barber. He stayed in that trade and always worked in Manhattan, even after moving to Brooklyn. He opened a shoe store, the Creation Buttery, which was forced to close during the Depression. Later, he owned a shoe repair shop in Brooklyn. In other words, he was a shoemaker. Nicolò went to pattern making. He worked in Manhattan design and cutting patterns for children's clothing. Also, my grandfather went to, I don't know exactly when, but I think in 1940s, he went in the United States to look for a job. He used to be a shoemaker. His name was Tommaso. I have a picture of him. Unfortunately, I was not able to find it because I want to show you. And behind the picture, he wrote, Tom Shoemaker. Also, my uncle Orlando and his family, his wife and 4 children, migrated in the United States in 1963. And they told me that, the journey took 8 days to cross the Atlantic Ocean and to get to Ellis, to get into New York Bay. And they had to, to stay, to remain for maybe half a day, 4 or 5 hours for the inspection at Ellis Island at Ellis Island. And this is the story. I do hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you for watching. See you next time.